Welcome back to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Susie, and today we are in Oldenburg, Indiana. I'm here with Paul Selkirk and Gary Munchell. Nice to see you guys.
Glad to meet you.
Okay.
Hi, Susie. Welcome back.
Good to see you again. So you guys are going to be talking to us today about the many festivals here in Oldenburg. But maybe the first question I'd like to ask is about the maypole and the shield on it and what it represents.
Yes, the Maypole Shield. That particular shield is rather celebratory. It talks about really our festivals. So, and there's four primary festivals that we have here. One is the Firemans Festival. Another is the Oldenburg German festival called the Freudenfest. Soon we'll be having our parish picnic, which is the Holy Family Church Festival. And then we have the Holiday Under the Spires. So four big festivals represented by that shield.
So I've heard of the Freudenfest Festival. I've heard quite a bit, actually. So what's the name represent?
The name itself, so Freuden is German for pleasures or fun. So for us it means fun day, and that's what the Freudenfest is all about. So Jack Bogenschutz, who has passed a while back, but he was our local German teacher. And back in 1977, when we started the Freudenfest, he gave us that name for our Freudenfest, which really celebrates our German heritage. And all the proceeds go to the town for the beautification and preservation of Oldenburg.
So the Freudenfest, when did it start and why?
Well, actually, the first Freudenfest wasn't a Freudenfest. It was 200th anniversary of the United States to celebrate the 200th anniversary. A lot of people got together, the town people got together and figured it would be a good time to celebrate. And after, that was in 1976. And the Freudenfest actually began, and they had such a good time, they figured they'd just keep it going with celebrate their German heritage. So in 77, the Freudenfest was born. And that's basically it, really.
I heard there is a lot of beer sold at this thing, German beer specifically, but also like 500 cases of domestic.
Oh, no. Probably, no. That's a rumor.
Oh, it's a rumor. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's okay. Okay, all right.
A lot more than that.
All right. So, Gary, today's Freudenfest, it's a little different, compared to when it first started. So, what, attendance, that kind of foot traffic on there, what is it like today compared to like what it was?
Wow. I remember the first ones because I was a teenager and helping my dad bring stuff over to the festival. And, it was probably a couple hundred people back then. And there were pioneers that started that festival. This gentleman is one of them, by the way. And they did such a great job that now the attendance last year, we never really have a really good count, but we think it's probably around 10,000 or so, which is pretty many people for a town of about roughly 700 people. It's gone from small to big. Our slogan is the biggest little German festival in Indiana, and if you come, you'll find out why. So.
Okay, so you were pretty humble to hold off on telling me that you were a pioneer on this.
Well, I don't know about a pioneer, but I was one of the ones that was involved in the first Freudenfest, or the celebration of the United States, and I kind of helped carry it through from then until today. I became chairman in 1980, and in 1987, Gary jumped in. That was our sesquicentennial, and Gary jumped in and started helping us, and Gary and I have been at it ever since.
So aside from some of the beer, right? What are some of the main attractions of the festival?
Some of the main attractions, well, have you been to the Freudenfest yet, Susie?
You know that I want to come next year. And we'll get to that. But you got to tell me why I would want to come.
Okay, well,
for a first timer.
All right, so let me try to paint the picture a little bit. Paint it. All right. So I think people enjoy the Freudenfest because it's an authentic German festival with authentic German food and Eureka type bands, German bands. So you get an old world flavor here of our festival, a great family reunion. It's family friendly, and it's held in an authentic German town. It doesn't get more German than Oldenburg. I grew up in Hauptstrasse Street, and it's still called that, see? So I think, so it's set in the right place. But if I were to give you a couple of tips as a first timer, so on Friday night we start. So it's a Friday night event and then all day Saturday. So on Friday night, I would make sure that I would go to the opening ceremonies because we have some fun there. do the tapping of the keg, a 21 Prost salute. Father Carl does the blessing, and we're off and running with a lot of good music and food. And then Saturday, a couple highlights might be, we start out with old farm machinery display and a lot of great food. One of the favorites that you might want to try is the sauerkraut balls. And I think last year we made over 1,100 dozen sauerkraut balls homemade by the local residents here. So I don't know how many that is. You'll have to do your math at home, but it's a lot of sauerkraut balls.
Oh, yeah.
And so you'll try that, and I can't give you the recipe. It's secret, so you'll just have to try it. The pie auction is always popular. We'll have pies go for $30, $50, hundreds of dollars, even some that get up to $1,000 for a pie.
One?
At one pie, a pie auction.
Must be a really good pie.
It's really good. At that time of day, it's just really good for whatever reasons. It goes well, I think. And then you mentioned the German beer, but there are, the beer meister in town does a great job. We'll have 8 to 10 at least different German beers, Hackershore, Stella, Warsteiner, on and on. So just a lot of fun.
Very cool. So with that kind of money being raised on pies, tell me about where the I'm just, from in general, the money raised from the festival, where does that go?
Where our money goes, here we got the brick street, light poles, banners. And then around the week before Thanksgiving, that banner turns into a Christmas banner. Cool. We get lighted wreaths on all the poles in town. And going down the street on the stone church here, we were involved in putting the onion dome on the stone church across the street at the fire department. We made a really nice donation a few years ago to the firemen so they could get their new fire truck behind that and upgrade to the shelter this past year for the Freudenfest. Down the street, we've got the park down there. We donated equipment. Either side of town, we've got signs welcoming people into town that we did a couple years ago. The new maypole, the tennis courts, which, thanks to the flood last year, turned into basketball goals this year. Last but not least is the academy. We give the academy $4,000 scholarships every year.
Awesome.
So that is only the beginning of the list. I mean, we've been doing this since 77.
So, Paul, the Freudenfest sounds like a lot of fun. I've heard a great deal about it by now. So when is the next one? I need to know that.
Well, the next Freudenfest is the 20th and 21st of July next year. It's always the third Saturday, regardless of how the Friday falls. It's not the weekend, it's just a Saturday, the third Saturday. So you got to rely on the third Saturday rather than the weekend.
Okay.
So that's basically about it. So
third Saturday in July.
Saturday in July.
2018.
Right.
I'm going to get my German beer fix.
There you go.
Okay.
You're ready.
So aside from the Freudenfest, which is obviously a must, there's a couple other really cool festivals and events that go on here in Oldenburg. Can you elaborate just a little bit?
I can, and I actually have a reference sheet that I put together.
I call that a cheat sheet, Gary.
It's a cheat sheet. It's a cheat sheet. All right, very good. So, the Firemans Festival, which happens every June, it's Americana at its best. It's small town thing, fire trucks, sirens, children going out in the street trying to get candy during the parade in a safe environment.
Yes.
So a lot of fun. But a couple things that the firemen do. So they have a Friday night and a Saturday. On Friday night, I think of their fish dinners are over the top, excellent. Coleslaw with that just works. On Saturday, the big attraction has historically been that they have a parade that starts typically around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And Susie, it's probably one of the largest parades that you'll see in the area. A lot of great entries, so it's fun to see the people line the streets. So think fire trucks, tractors, horses, small town parade, but well done. And then they have great chicken dinners, stuff for adults and kids. And really, I think that when I think about the Firemans Festival, it's really reeks a family atmosphere. And I also think of firemen, I always think about volunteerism. So what better cause to support than the firemen? And what's neat about our organizations is they help us and we help them and we work well together. So it's a great festival.
I know there's got to be a couple more.
There are. So that festival shield, there's 2 more. So Freudenfest, the Firemans, and then very shortly we're going to have our Holy Family Festival in October. So they have variety booths, a silent auction, some raffles, and a really popular basket booth where I think the ladies are putting together 525 different baskets that you can put a dollar bid on of all kind of different treasures in these baskets that you bid on. So a lot of fun. They have roast beef and chicken dinners. They're great. And I think what's really kind of neat, and it's so Oldenburgish, is that if you like, you can bring your pet to the back of the monastery porch, and Father will give your pet a Franciscan blessing that day. Yes. Awesome. Now, how Oldenburg is that?
That is so Oldenburg. It's so Oldenburg.
And then there's one more very worth mentioning. That is the Holidays Under the Spires. So it's just a great way to kick off the holiday season. Happens in early December, and there's a lot of things that happen there. Various choirs sing. One of my favorite choirs is the Copling Society from Cincinnati. They're a German folk group. And so picture being in the Sisters' Chapel. It's during the holiday season. Lights are low, candles lit, and a rendition of Silent Night in German. It sends chills up your spine. It's really, really neat. And then the firemen serve hot chocolate, horse-drawn carriages. All the businesses are bustling and opening. Vendors come into town. So just a lot of good time. And the day is capped off by the Boar's Head Festival at night on that Saturday, again in the Sisters' Chapel. So that is another great event to attend. So the one thing that all of them have in common is volunteerism, and it's the life, love, and lifeblood of Oldenburg, else nothing happens. So we're really blessed to have people that really care about this piece of real estate in Indiana and want to preserve and take care of it and celebrate it.
Very cool. Very cool, Gary. Thank you. Thank you. This has been another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Susie, and I have had a great time here with Paul and Gary. Remember, travel slowly and stop often. Cheers, boys.
Join us in Oldenburg for a beer. Prost. Paul's buying.